Good morning, everyone. Hi, Shari. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I am joined today by Councilman of District 1, Marion Edwards, Councilman of District 2, Dino Bernano, Councilman for District 4, Dominic Impastato, and Councilwoman for District 5, Councilwoman Jennifer Van Vranken, along with our Registrar of Voters, Dennis DeMarco, our Chief of the East Bank Consolidated Fire Services, Chief Dave Tibbetts, from Environmental Affairs, Catherine Costanza, as well as Gerald Pardon, who is our President and CEO of East Jefferson General Hospital. We really wanted to talk today about the upcoming elections, and of course, I also wanted to spend this opening time doing a COVID update. So our numbers today in Jefferson Parish, well, as of yesterday, 14,914 cases in Jefferson Parish. Unfortunately, we have had to suffer with 520 deaths. Our test, and this is a number that, of course, we're very proud of because we know it comes with a lot of effort from many of our departments, medical facilities, hospitals. 141,551 tests have been completed in Jefferson Parish as of yesterday, and testing is going on right now. So we know with COVID, since June 20th, we suffered our second peak. And I believe, in the state of Louisiana, we're one of the few states that suffered two peaks. We peaked with New York, and we peaked with the rest of the Sun Belt states in the South. That is why our numbers are some of the highest per capita in the country. The good news is, the very good news is, we're finally maybe starting to see some hope of coming down off this peak. The percent, and there's a delay in this, but the percent positive for testing for the week ending July 29th is at 10.3%. The week before, we were at 11.2%. So that is a very, very hopeful sign that the percent positive for the people who are being tested is coming down. It is through a lot of hard work, a lot of effort by everyone on the community. This is everybody's responsibility. And so hopefully that trend can continue and we can start seeing this thing come down. And certainly we hope those numbers bear that out. We also want to talk about free COVID testing. This week we did have testing. We want to thank our partners, Ochsner. We had testing on Monday as a community-based testing. I think as a result of just the complete high demand for testing, we don't have any more testing with Ochsner this week. But we do continue to have, which has been our stronghold for us, our Ilario Center testing. I'm very proud to say that we have been able to offer free testing in this community since the very beginning of this pandemic. And we have extended those hours 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., again, Monday through Saturday at the Ilario Center, free testing. You can also go to doineedacovid19.com test to pre-register. So I like to call that the fast pass lane for COVID testing. So doineedacovid19test.com to pre-register for the Ilario Center testing. I want to give an update on our hotline. It's been very successful. I want to thank the public for doing what we say, see it and say it. There's been over 3,000 complaints since we've launched this on Friday, June 26th. We have pivoted our property maintenance and zoning staff and inspection staff to go out. We have issued, and again, we want compliance. We're not trying to trip up businesses in a hard time through COVID. They're all trying to survive. All we're asking for is compliance, and a lot of times it's the education piece. We've issued 104 first-time warnings. We've revisited businesses on 30 occasions as a second time. And so far now, we've looked to go on that third time, which would be when we would cite for a misdemeanor. The 3 that we went to and visited, they were in full compliance when our inspector went out to visit them. Right now, there's 2 more businesses that we're looking to inspect that time, and if they don't comply, they will get that misdemeanor summons. But hopefully, we have seen compliance, tremendous amount of compliance on that issue. So hopefully, they will be okay on that front. As we want you to understand that I'm using my property maintenance and zoning staff for the mask issue. The capacity issues are a different organization. So we have the fire marshal that is enforcing the capacity issues. We alerted them to instances that we knew were going on in Jefferson Parish 1 to 2 weeks ago. They were on it immediately. Violations were issued. Certainly on those occasions. So they are our partners on this, on the capacity issue things, and we work with them on that. So again, that number is 736-6929 is the COVID compliance hotline, or you can get to it at jeffparish.gov, jeffparish.net. Phase 2, as the governor indicated the other day, will be extended to August 28th across the state. So we want to remind everyone about the mask mandates in place, continues, no on-premise inside consumption at bars. In Jefferson Parish, bars can do curbside. And again, reminder that the indoor social gatherings are limited to 50 people. Again, I want to thank our Jefferson Parish business community for, on a dime, turning their business around, doing those personnel things that they needed to do to be in compliance with the mask ordinance. I'm very pleased with that effort. I know it does not come with a tremendous amount of cooperation, but it shows the business community and their leadership and understanding that we're all in this together. It's in everybody's best interest. It is in the business community's best interest when we can get these COVID numbers down. So really today we want to highlight Election Day is August 15th. Early voting now is through August 8th. You can vote at the Yenny Building. For early voting, the Charles Odom Building in Marrero on the West Bank Expressway, and Rivertown in Kenner on Minor Street. So that, again, early voting is going on through August 8th. We have a number of speakers here. The council has really shown their leadership in making sure people understand this election that's coming up. It's a little confusing because we have some other elections later in the fall, and you're starting to see those campaign signs coming up, so I think there's some confusion in there. Also, with our inability to get out to civic associations, so our council stood up an election integrity task force. They've been working on this, and as I call them up, you're going to see how much and how deep they're getting into this issue to make sure people's voice and vote is able to be cast in many, many different ways. So I will let them come up and speak on that front. But we also want to point you to, and our public information office has been so wonderful in trying to get out the message any kind of creative way, because again, we have not been able to visit civic associations like we normally would. Go to jeffparish.net, and toward the bottom there's, on the front page, it's called Your Voice is Your Vote. You can click on that. You can see great videos of everything that's coming up for you to vote on August 15th, and again, early voting now. So watch those videos. You can also get a sample ballot at govote.com. Go, spelled like the Cajun way, www.geauxvote.com for a sample ballot. Again, voters, much more details coming, but voters on the East Bank will have 3 measures: the sale of East Jefferson General Hospital, our East Bank Fire Department millage renewal, and we have Chief Dave Tippett's here on that, and the solid waste disposal millage renewal. Catherine Costanza on that. You will hear the millages that we have on here are not a new tax. It is a renewal. It is a renewal for your critical services, your fire services on the East Bank, and your solid waste. And again, we have those directors here to give more detail. But voters in unincorporated, that is for the East Bank, will have those 3 issues to vote on: the proposed sale of East Jefferson General Hospital to LCMC, East Bank Fire Department consolidated millage renewal, and solid waste millage renewal. Voters throughout unincorporated Jefferson Parish, as well as the town of Jean Lafitte, will just be voting on the solid waste disposal millage renewal. Okay, so again, I want to do my plug for the census. Jefferson Parish is at a self-response rate at 63.2%. We are the 3rd parish. We rank 3rd for the amount of response rates that we have done. So we really need everybody who lives in Jefferson Parish to be counted. This is critical for us, for our funding, for our representation, through the federal, down to the state, down to the local. These formulas are looked at in government. This is our bread and butter here. So we need everybody to get counted. So www.2020census.gov to get on there. It's very easy, mail, online, extremely, extremely easy. Okay. So with that, I want to invite up our council member, Councilman Dino Bernano of District 2. And again, you will see how detailed our council has been and how much they have put forth this effort to make sure there is no confusion during this election time, during this COVID, with the very, very important measures that we have coming up. So with that, Councilman Bernano.
Thank you, President Sheng. As my colleagues and I have come to learn, there's nothing normal during this pandemic, and voting is certainly no exception. The purpose of today's press conference is to take every opportunity we can to alert the voters that there are numerous changes to the polling places for this election, for the August 15th election only. And the reason for that is we don't normally hold elections in South Louisiana in August due to the extreme heat and humidity. But because of the COVID-19 crisis, some of our elections got postponed, and we're dealt with having to we're challenged with having to deal with that election during the middle of August. The clerk of court requested us, my colleagues and myself, to move any polling location that doesn't have air conditioning to a place that does. And so we've worked over the last 2 or 3 weeks, each of us in our own districts, to look at all the locations and find one adjacent to it or close by that does have air conditioning. Now keep in mind, this isn't just for the convenience of our voters, but for the polling commissioners as well. These individuals get to a poll location around 5:30 in the morning and they stay there till around 9 o'clock at night. So it would be extremely difficult to ask those individuals to sit inside of a building without air conditioning in August for that long period of time. In addition, the Secretary of State has ordered that no polling place that exists inside of an assisted living center for seniors have votes during this election in order to protect the seniors from possibly being infected or exposed to the virus. So we're encouraging everyone to please go to the Parish website, jeffparish.net, or our Facebook page, and as I'm sure my colleagues are going to do, as well as I, our own personal Facebook page and council Facebook pages, and list the locations that have been changed. But mainly going to be fire stations, and I know in my district, the Weinhoven Senior Assisted Living Center will be changed as well. As President Sheng said, we still have absentee voting going on, as well as you still have time to do mail-in ballots, and in a few minutes, we're going to hear from our Register of Voters, Dennis DeMarco, about how you can accomplish both of those things, as well as finding additional information about the ballot itself. So with that, I thank you all for being here today and ask you all to please spread the word, encourage voters to go online and look and see if their polling place has changed. Thank you. Next, we're going to bring up the Councilman for District 1, Councilman Marion Edwards.
Thank you, Dino. As Dino said, I'm Marion, and as also Dino also said, we are having to make these changes to accommodate the voters and the commissioners. Our election in July, a number of our commissioners had a problem because of the heat. And a lot of our commissioners are as old as me, so it can be a hardship on them. I have 7 precincts in District 1 that are going to have to be moved. I know that our Registrar of Voters has sent letters out to everyone advising them of these moves, but in case you didn't get the letter or you didn't see it, I want to make sure that you all are aware of the moves. In District 1, Precinct 216A normally votes at Volunteer Fire Department 63 on Manhattan. That's being moved to the West Bank Regional Library at 2751 Manhattan Boulevard. Precinct 216C, which votes at Volunteer Fire Station number 63 at 3824 Manhattan Boulevard, is also being moved to the West Bank Regional Library at 2751 Manhattan Boulevard. Tarrytown Volunteer Fire Department at 200 Wild Boulevard is normally the location for voting for Precinct 234, and that will be moved to the Oakdale Playground Gym at 650 Wall Boulevard. Precinct 283A will be moved from the Tarrytown Volunteer Fire Department at 3301 Wall Boulevard, also to the Oakdale Playground Gym at 650 Wall Boulevard. Precinct 238B will move from the Tarrytown Volunteer Fire Department at 3301 Wall Boulevard to the Oakdale Playground Gym at 650 Wall Boulevard. In Gretna, the Gretna Precinct G003 will move from the Davy Crockett Volunteer Fire Station number 1 at 1136 Lafayette to the Jefferson Parish General Government Building at 200 Derbany on the first floor in Gretna. Precinct G007 normally votes at the Davy Crockett Volunteer Fire Station at 2000 Hancock Street. It's going to be moved across the street to William S. Hart Elementary School, 2001 Hancock Street in Gretna. I want to assure all of our constituents that we've been promised that these moves are temporary and hopefully we'll be back to our normal voting places for the next election. I would encourage all of you to make every effort that you can to go out and vote. We appreciate your attention, and we appreciate your participation.
Thank you, Councilman Edwards. Next, we're going to invite up the Councilman for Jefferson Parish District 4, Councilman Dominic Impastato.
Thank you, Councilman Bernano. As Councilman Bernano said, I'm Dominic Impastato. I represent Jefferson Parish District 4, which includes the bulk of Kenner and parts of Metairie. For those of you in Metairie, if you normally vote at the fire station on Kewanee near St. Philip Neri School and or Bissonnet School, if you're used to voting there, you're actually going to be moved for this election to Roosevelt Middle School, the former Roosevelt Middle School, which is now Tom Benson School in Highway Park. So if you're used to voting at the fire station on Kewanee, you're going to move to Roosevelt Middle School, now Tom Benson School in Highway Park subdivision. That's Jefferson Parish Precincts 7 and 9 if you vote in those. Also for Metairie residents, if you're used to voting at the 3rd District Fire Station on North Leicester, okay, that's Precincts 56 and 57. If you're used to voting at the 3rd District Fire Station for this election, you're going to vote at Delta Playgrounds Gym on West Metairie. Now, for Kenner residents in District 4, if you're used to voting at the Kenner Fire Station on Vintage, you're going to be moved to Woodlake Playgrounds Gym. Woodlake's Gym is basically the last building in Jefferson Parish before you get to St. Charles Parish. Take West Esplanade all the way to the end. So if you're Precinct 7, K7, K7A or K7B, used to voting at the Kenner City Park, the fire station at Kenner City Park, for this election, you're going to go to Woodlake Gym. So thank you everyone, and thank you, Councilman Bernano, for initiating this conference.
Thank you, Dominic. Next, I'm going to call up two individuals. I'm going to call up our Councilwoman for District 5, Ms. Jennifer Van Rankin, and Gerald Parton from East Jefferson General Hospital to really talk to you all about the importance of this election to the future of our hospital.
Thanks so much. You're probably picking up on a theme here. All of our fire stations that serve as polling locations, we have had to relocate. Those fire stations, traditionally, it's where the trucks park, where the fire engines park, and so it's a big cavernous open space, not air conditioned. And so we did hear back from our poll workers, especially as they're wearing PPE, they've got the masks on or face shields and body coverings. It really got extraordinarily hot for them to be there all day. So if you traditionally vote at a fire station, you are definitely having your polling place changed for this August election. It will go back to your old polling location in November. And so in the Metairie area, if you vote at the fire station on North Causeway, you'll be voting at Grace King for this August election. And if you vote at the fire station number 15, that's on the North I-10 Service Road, you're going to be voting on Lakeshore Playground. So again, primarily these changes are related to our firehouses. I've been telling friends and neighbors, vote August 15th like your life depends on it, because it truly is what's at the heart of this August 15th election. We have 3 things on the ballot. 2 of them really are about life and health and safety. One is the proposed sale of East Jefferson General Hospital to LCMC Health. Another is our fire department, East Bank Consolidated Fire Department, their millage renewal, the funding that keeps our fire department one of the 50 best in the country, that is up for renewal. And then our solid waste millage, the thing that helps keep the streets clean and parades cleaned up immediately after the last float rolls. So those are the things that make it really essential for you to vote on August 15th. And so if you're in the Metairie area and you're voting by mail, one really important thing, your mail ballots went in the mail first part of last week, so you should have gotten it. In the Metairie area, there are 3 things on your ballot. So you've got, on the front, you've got consolidated garbage, you've got East Bank Consolidated Fire Department, but you've got to turn the ballot over and look on the back to find the East Jefferson General Hospital proposed sale. So please, if you're voting by mail, flip it over. It says vote on the back on both sides, but please remember, you've got important issues on the front and back of your mail ballot. I'm going to bring up Gerald Parton with East Jefferson General Hospital. The hospital has been in our community 50 years, serving us, making sure we're healthy, and we certainly have appreciated that now more than ever with coronavirus. And so we wanted to let Gerald talk a bit about the EJ initiative. Gerald?
Thank you, Jennifer. And yes, East Jefferson has been in the community for 50 years. We were there during the good and the bad. We never closed during Katrina. We have been there all during the COVID and still seeing COVID patients. But we are the last standalone hospital in the New Orleans general area. Being a standalone hospital in this environment is just not sustainable. You know, even though we have never missed a bond payment, never missed an interest payment, our bondholders have said if this sale is not completed, they will call our bonds. That would put us in bankruptcy. So a vote yes would keep the hospital in existence hopefully for another 50 years. This is important. All of these proposals are important, but please vote Saturday and vote for a continued East Jefferson General Hospital. And please, it's important for the voters of this residents of East Jefferson to have a choice for health care. Thank you.
I'd like to invite up our register of voter, Mr. Dennis DeMarco, to give you some important information about the vote on August 15th. Mr. DeMarco.
Thank you. First, I want to say if any of the councilmen or the parish president decides to leave politics, I'm offering them a job in my office because I've been impressed in how much they understand the election process. I'm not going to go over items that were mentioned before, but I will emphasize a few. One is the Go Vote app. Everyone should have this on their phone. If you put in your name and your address, you will not only see your polling place, you will see information about your party affiliation and everything else. And your sample ballot. Very, very important. As was mentioned before, there are 28 precincts being changed in this election. 17 on the East Bank, 11 on the West Bank. That represents about 10% of our polling places. So it's very important for people to understand where they go to vote. For anyone who had their polling place changed, there's a letter sent out, I had to redact, which will tell every voter where your new polling place is. So again, if you get something like this from my office, please open it up. For those who, as was mentioned earlier, haven't voted yet, you can still vote early. My office will be conducting early voting until 6 p.m. this Saturday, and you can vote in any one of my 3 offices. It doesn't matter where you live. You could vote on the West Bank, Yenny Building, or in Kenner. For those who still want to vote by mail, if you're over 65, handicapped, or you have been exposed to the coronavirus, you're quarantined, or you are with someone who has the coronavirus, you can still request a mail ballot. How do you get it? Well, you go to this Go Vote app and you download. There's one of 2 forms. If you're over 65, you can download this form, and if you have the concerns about the coronavirus, you download this form. You can have someone bring it to my office because the deadline to request a mail ballot is this Tuesday at 4:30. So if you download today, it's a very simple form. You can have someone drop it off in my office. As soon as we receive it, we will mail you a ballot. Once you've cast your ballot, if you have concerns about the mail, you can personally bring it in or have a relative drop off that ballot at any one of my 3 offices. So concerns about the mail can be alleviated by, again, appearing in person and casting a vote in person. As I mentioned before, we 28 precincts changing. That affects about 10% of our voters in the parish. But again, it's a critical election, so we really encourage everyone to, again, you have until Saturday at 6 p.m. Or again, you could still vote by mail, or again, you could still go to your polling place. With that, I thank everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. DeMarco. Next, I'd like to invite our director, our chief, Dave Tibbetts from the East Bank Consolidated Fire. Again, this is one of the millage renewals we have on the ballot on August 15th. Chief.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to circle back to what's been said. Obviously, I was asked how important is this millage vote to the fire department. Well, the fire department's life depends on it. It's 90% of our budget. This allows us to give the citizens not only quality of life, but the best fire service possible with the lowest insurance rate. So I want to just again say, please educate yourself. Encourage everybody to use their ability to vote. If you have any questions, our headquarters phone number is 736-6200. We'll be glad to answer any questions. And again, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chief. From our Environmental Affairs Department is Catherine Costanza to just give a little bit more detail about the solid waste millage renewal that we have coming up. Catherine?
Thank you, President Sheng. On Saturday, August 15th, residents in unincorporated Jefferson in the town of Jean Lafitte will be asked to renew an existing millage for an additional 10 years. Now, that millage, the renewal will ensure uninterrupted operation of the Jefferson Parish landfill. It would also ensure that things like the daily disposal of municipal garbage will continue to take place. We produce approximately 255,000 tons of household garbage in Jefferson Parish each year. That material needs to go somewhere, and it needs to be disposed of appropriately. The millage also pays for annual street sweeping. We sweep approximately 2,500 linear miles of road each year here in Jefferson Parish. It also covers things like the disposal of trash left in the streets after Mardi Gras. We produce approximately 13,200 tons of trash. Also of importance is the fact that this millage funds cleanup after storms. In the event that we have a declared storm, such as the magnitude of a Hurricane Katrina, typically the federal government will come in and pay for 75% of the disposal cost of that cleanup and disposal of the debris. We would be responsible for picking up the balance of that, which would be 25%. The millage covers things like that. In a case of an undeclared storm, where we would be responsible for paying the entire cleanup cost, it would cover that. It also pays for ongoing capital improvements to our leachate and gas collection system. Those things need to continue to take place. So the proposition on the August 15th ballot will extend these services for another 10 years. If anyone has any questions, I encourage people to call the Department of Environmental Affairs at 731-4612. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So you can see how much effort has gone on behind the scenes, and as we approach right now, as we've said, we're early voting right now. Your vote is your voice, so I want to applaud our council members and our directors for just being as creative as possible in this COVID world, trying to make sure that everyone understands where to vote and all the methods by which they can have their voice heard. So with that, any of us can take any questions that you may have. Yes.
In light of last night's Jefferson Parish School Board meeting, I'm sure you saw that there were a lot of serious concerns about schools going back next week. A lot of people saying they don't feel ready. There's, of course, concerns about safety of the children, but also the teachers and the staff. Are you considering any move to delay school? Do you think schools should be delayed?
So the question that was asked was about the school board meeting last night and the potential delay of school. So just so everybody understands, the school board is a separate governing authority. They have the exclusive jurisdiction to set the calendar for that school. Even under the emergency proclamations that I've done as parish president, our legal attorneys say that that is not an option for me to do. I did, the question's been asked of me, and I certainly feel like, we have been fighting COVID as the parish president since March. We've been just, all of us have been really on this fight, on the front line of this fight. I did request a meeting with the superintendent. I did speak to several board members and asked that they consider perhaps a late start date. Again, this is not under my authority, but I just think that, I believe the importance of kids being in school, the social the social interaction that is necessary for everybody. It is the best way to educate someone. My ask of them was just to look at a delay consistent with the other major school systems in our area, Orleans Parish, St. Tammany, East Baton Rouge Parish, given the high amount of numbers that we have. We're just coming off of COVID now, as I said, and hopefully that trend continues. Again, there's a delay, but a 10.3% positivity is better than the week before at 11.2. So I just thought in the balance of things, and that's all you see us trying to do as elected officials, as public policy makers, is trying to balance this. These are difficult issues. They're hard issues. I'm a parent too, getting ready to send my kid to school. So understand the importance of how you can see how much effort is going on just to something that we take for granted, just going to vote. You know, COVID is making our work so much harder. So to me, you know, a 3-week delay to see right where we are coming off of this was my ask of them. But of course, I want to respect their authority, and they are a separate governing authority where we are. But when you look at, if you study and you look at articles, the most successful school systems out there that did not have to reverse their course seems to have been just a lower level of COVID in the community as a whole. So again, it's fragile. We see with the peak, we've seen it, we've learned it twice, you just don't come off of a peak. It's easy to get into a peak, it's easy to fall into it, and once it starts spreading and where the R naught is at that time, it spreads, you don't come off of it easily. So I think we have to be strategic in what we do. That's certainly how we view it. But again, we will respect whatever the school board, the governing authority of that calendar is, and we're their partners. Right now, we're trying to even get them more masks from our supply to make sure they have everything that they need, because they're all of our citizens. So.
With the elections next week, are you nervous about turnout, just considering the situation we're in?
You know, Mr. DeMarco, I early voted the other day. I asked some of his employees, and they said turnout was low. So we want to make sure that everybody understands, and I think it is more confusing, as I mentioned, having the fall elections and starting to see some of the other campaign signs coming up. It gets kind of confusing. Hence, hence this press conference, and you can see all the work that the council members have done, because these are extremely important millages, and we're trying to do the best we can, and it's not an ideal situation, and that's how COVID is. We're trying to respond as quickly as we can to do the best we can, and with the heat and everything, with the poll workers, you can see how much on the forefront our council, Dennis DeMarco, John Gegenheimer, our clerk of court, have been to get as many people out to vote as possible. So, yes. You know, the question is, how vital has it been to see the cooperation of Jefferson Parish businesses? It has been everything, because if we did not have the businesses quickly comply, our time, our crucial time, which is already complicated by the fact that we're trying to deliver critical services in new ways. We do have employees that might have to quarantine and stay at home, so we're not starting at full speed. Would be directed toward, emails to our council members, emails to my office, if we have to chase businesses throughout, which we need to be over that. We understand, and it certainly helped that shortly after the July 1st mandate that I did under an emergency proclamation, that the state went that way as a whole, because then there's no confusion. You're not trying to figure out what parish you're in, do I wear my mask or not? So that's certainly helped along the way. And that is going to be, I know there's a lot of emotions on that issue, that is going to be what gets us out of that. And I think we're going to be in that mode for quite some time until a vaccine's developed. But again, as I said, COVID is very fragile. We can fall back very quickly. That would absolutely cripple us economically. It would cripple businesses if we have to go backwards. So it's just important that everybody, we work together as a community, and we've seen cooperation across the board, our law enforcement partners, our education partners. Even if we disagree, we're their partners, and we're going to do everything we can to make the school year as successful as possible. They certainly have my commitment on that, the council as well. We all want success across the board, and we're all in this together. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.